Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Sunset Safari here from the western fringes of the Great Kruger National Park in South Africa, and also, hopefully a little bit later, the Masai Mara in Kenya. My name is James Hendry, and a very special warm welcome to the 6 or 7 kids watching on Nat Geo Kids and all the rest of the kids that might be watching all over the world. You can send us your questions to natgeokids@wildearth.tv. It'd be lovely to hear from you. We'd love to have any questions or comments that you'd like to send us, and you do that by asking your parents to send us questions to that email address, and we will answer you any questions you might have. Now, I'm going to stop here and tell you what our plan is for the day. Our plan is to go and see if we can find the Nkuhuma pride. They're a pride of lions who were seen around about this area sometime early this morning. Now, it was quite a cool day, which means the lions could have moved. They might be next to a waterhole somewhere perhaps, or lying in the shade, and we will do our very best to find them. But what I've also just seen over here is very interesting, because normally we do not see lions and leopards together because they are mortal enemies. But what we do have are some leopard tracks. Here they are, over here. Sorry, let me just get into a decent position and I can show them to you, because David, who is on camera today, will not be able to show you the ones that I wanted to show you. That is not a fault of David's, of course. He has many, many faults, but that's not one of them. Here we go. This should work. Now, you've always got to look around before you get out of the car, unlike I did there, because if there is a leopard lying in the shade just nearby, he might take exception to you getting out of the car and tripping over him. Now, what we have here is a very clear leopard track. Can you see that, David? Now, that is a male leopard track. Looks like a young male leopard, but I'm pretty sure it's just a male leopard. I mean, I don't know of any young males who should be around. And he's gone off that way. And you can see here, his tracks go. And he's walked off towards this shade over here. And with any luck, I'll trip over him in about 10 seconds. He's going to walk very carefully. Here they are. Just being careful, of course. And we have a track there. And it's going up this way. Now, this is very interesting. It's carried on up there. I suspect that this is the track of a male leopard in this area called Hukumuri. Now, Hukumuri sounds like a very grand name, but of course it means chicken medicine. Why on earth you would call a leopard chicken medicine is very difficult to answer, but it was not us who named this leopard chicken medicine, because of course a leopard would not be medicine to chicken, but rather imminent death. And so Hukumuri, I think, has walked up here. He is one of the territorial males, and basically his north-south boundary runs in that direction there. And so everything to the western side of that line is Hukumuri's territory, and everything to the eastern side, or left of where I'm pointing now, is the territory of Tingana, who's another male leopard. Anyway, that's very interesting stuff. We'll probably do a little loop around here, see if we can find Hukumuri, and then perhaps we'll be very lucky and find those lions on the way back. Okay, good. Shall we continue? Yes, let us continue. A lot of you wishing that this was Hosana. Look, it's not impossible. Hosana, for those of you who don't know, young male leopard just over 3 years old who was born here and recently departed for the salubrious environs of Londolozi Private Game Reserve, which is down on the Sand River, not too far from here. But I don't think this is Hosana. Might be. I don't think it's him, though. So we'll drive up here. We might be very lucky. Of course, in the heat of the day, it's about 31 degrees or so at the moment, which is, what is that? It's about 85 degrees Fahrenheit, I think. It's quite warm for a cat to be walking around. And so you'd expect them to be lying down in the shade somewhere, and you can see, of course, that there is a huge amount of grass. And so that is very very, makes it difficult to see leopards. Okay, we're going to continue along here, see if we can find you a cat or perhaps any other interesting mammal. In the heat, let's go across to the Masai Mara, where David is driving to a storm.
Jumbo boys and girls of Nat Geo Kids, how are you all doing today, this Saturday? And my name is David, and on camera with me today is James. James, how are you? And we're in a different country that is called Kenya, and in a game reserve that is called the Masai Mara. Much cooler here than it is in Juma in the Kruger National Park, because we're 21 degrees Celsius and about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. And we want to show you two things from a distance. We want to show you some clouds and some smoke. So why do we show you some clouds? We're showing you some clouds because this time around it's time for the long rains in East Africa. The long rains normally start in the months of March, April, May, sometimes going all the way to June. But what happens before the rains come, the game rangers will always set some fires just to clean the old dry grass. So if you look in front of you or just on your screen, you can see that area is already burnt. So this was burnt 3-4 days ago. And if you look from a distance, you can see more smoke. I'm sure already James already told you that when you ask us questions or you send us comments, we are always full of joy, and I'm sure you know how to do that. Nat Geo Kids at worldearth.tv. Now, that area now currently is the one that has fire, but as much as it's burning, as you can see all that smoke, the game rangers are in charge. So we call it controlled burning. In East Africa, we do not have natural fires that are either caused by lightning or some other reasons. So all the fires we have here, we can't call any fire wildfire. It's fires that we cause ourselves, and after we are happy and satisfied it has burnt the areas we want, we'll always put it off if it doesn't, get out. Sometimes, like the night before last, we had some big rains, and naturally all the fire that was burning was killed by the rains. Now, my plan today is to look for any plains game. There's one particular area I wanted to go. I have seen a huge wall of rain coming from that direction, and I thought, even if I get there, definitely I won't be able to see anything. Flaps, I'll bring the windshield up, so we shall be just there, coiled inside with James, and we don't want to show you nothing but the rain. So I have changed my plans. I want to go to different... Alrighty. And before I make my new plans now, we'll take you back to South Africa to another girl who would like to say Jambo Jambo to all of you.
Hello, lovely boys and girls. I am Trishala, and I'm so happy to have you on board. I know we're not exactly on the car right now, but I still have you here in Juma in South Africa, and you've met James, and you've met David, and now you've met me. And I've got Craig on camera with me. Hi, Craig. So what we're looking at are some leopard tracks. Now, James spoke to you about them earlier, and he had some close down near our camp, and now I've got some up here, which is in the north, near a very nice watering hole. So what I'm actually looking for is this guy right here. Now, the ones that James showed you are possibly from a guy called Hukumuri, and that is a male leopard, and he's sort of on the western side of our reserve. But this guy, his name is Tingana. And these tracks are very likely for him because he's been seen in this area, and that's who I'm looking for today. But no sight of him yet. But the fact that I have these tracks here tell me that he's around. So what I'm going to do is be searching for him definitely, because I know that he's somewhere. Now let me get back into the vehicle, because we want to drive down to where there's some water. Now, leopards don't usually need water. They get all the moisture requirements they need from the the prey species that they eat or the animals that they eat, so they don't exactly need water. But if water is available, they will definitely go down and have a drink, especially since it's really hot today. It's 31 degrees Celsius or 88 degrees Fahrenheit, so it is quite hot. So I'd expect that since he's right near the water, maybe that's the way that he'll go. So why not let us make our way? Also looking for any other tracks as we go. Tracking is quite an important skill working out here in the bush, because it means that you can find animals that would normally be hidden. Now, if you have a look around here, you see it's really, really thick. Can you see? Very, very, very thick. So tracking helps us to be able to find those animals. Now, Francis, you say that you would never be able to tell which leopard it was from looking at the track. Well, there's a whole process to it. It's not as if I could look at that track in isolation and know exactly whose track it was. We have to think about a whole lot of things. Firstly, leopards are territorial, which means they fight other leopards off for a space. And when they fight other leopards off for a space, then that is their space. So we know exactly whose space this area is, whereas the area James was in could have been right at the border where it's Hukumuri's space also. So I know that there's only really one male leopard in this area. And also I know that he was around there. Now there's two other female leopards that are around in this area as well. But one is still quite little. She's about 16, 17 months. So her actual prints are much smaller. And then her mum, her prints are bigger than the little one, but smaller than Tingana. So that's how we can tell which track it is. I'm not some magician that totally knows these things off. Now we have somebody else here. Let me just turn off here. So this is our Buffalo's Hook watering hole. It's a watering hole that's in the north of the reserve. And we have two hippo here, and they are quite a famous couple. They're called Snorkel Sarah and Scuba Steve, and they're a pair of hippos. Look at them. So they'll dive down, they'll come back up for some air, and they'll do this all day long. And when night falls, they will come out and they'll start to eat all the grass around this area. Now, you don't often see them out of water unless we are going into the evening and they start to come out when it's much cooler. Look at that. How lovely is that? So you can see that one hippo is quite much bigger than the other. And see this one that you're looking at right now? It's got an oxpecker. It's a type of bird, a red-billed oxpecker just sat on his face, and he's going to try and clear any pests that are on him. Do you know on your dogs you get sometimes ticks and fleas and other things like that, and irritates and bother them? This guy will come and clean out those pests that bother the animals. And you can see that he's doing it right there. Yeah, he's caught something and he's eating it off Scuba Steve's head. Now, Scuba Steve is the bigger one, and Snorkel Sarah is the smaller one that's just dove. Rosalind, you'd like to know how often hippos pair for life. Well, Rosalind, the hippo's social structure, that is the way that they associate with one another, is not exactly like that. They don't really pair. What they'll do is you'll get one male, like Scuba Steve here, whose eyes are closed and he's obviously enjoying the sun. You get one male and he will collect many females that he will look after, if that makes sense. So in this little watering hole, he's collected this one female, Sarah, and if other females come along, he will try to impress them with his big size, his big teeth, and of course lots of the water around here, and of course some good grazing, some good grass around the edges of the pan. Because all those things are the things that the females want in order to grow strong, healthy babies. So you'll get a whole group with a dominant male, that is the male in charge, and you'll get a whole lot of subordinate females. Those are the ones that he takes care of. Now, you'll also get males within that group, but as long as those males don't try to overthrow him, or they know that he's in charge and they make sure that they respect him, he'll have no issue. But there is only ever one guy in charge. And over here, it's Scuba Steve that you see there. Anyway, it seems that James Henry is still on the lookout for some lions, some leopards, who knows. So let's go and have a look.
Yes, I am on the lookout, but I have not found a leopard just yet, or a lion, but I have found a grasshopper. Now, this grasshopper, it was not in fact on the grass, but on the car. So somehow it has hitched a lift with us. And the only really interesting thing I can tell you about this grasshopper is that it's very clearly not an adult. Now, we know it's not an adult because it doesn't have wings yet. And if you look very carefully, just behind its head, you can perhaps see where the wings are forming. There we go. And so as a juvenile grasshopper, you can just see the little wing buds. I'll see if I can point them out. Let me see if I can find something pointy-ish, because my finger's going to be a little bit fat to do it. I don't think I have anything pointy-ish. Anyway, basically, sorry, David, just over, yeah, there. That's it. Where my nail is, you can see the little wing buds. And so this grasshopper will have wings eventually. Let me turn him around so you can look at his lovely eyes. There we go. And they go through, I think it is, I've forgotten actually, 3 or 4 instars. And that's what we call the sort of stage. Oh, this one's having a dump. Very nice. This grasshopper just made a poop. There it is, in fact. Look at that, David. That's what a grasshopper poop looks like. Fantastic. Anyway, they go through 3 or 4 of these instars, or sort of juvenile stages. Apparently a number of you complimenting David for his camera work, and I'd ask you not to do that again, if possible. Thank you. He's the sort of fellow you really don't want to give too much compliment to. Go to his head, and before you know it, he'll be behaving like a diva. So if I could ask you all to just never do that again. Okay. That would be great. Thank you. I'm just quickly checking to make sure that I'm not telling you a lie, which of course I don't wish to do. Lying would be very unfortunate. It wouldn't be a lie, though, it would be a mistake. I know that it is in the book that I'm paging through. Oh, come on, Hendry. Metamorphosis, blah, blah, cocoons. Must be here somewhere. Here we go. From wingless to winged, the development pattern is among the primitive winged insects, crickets, grasshoppers. Yes, yes, but how many? In general, the nymphs that emerge from the eggs are not only smaller than the adults, but also differ in appearance. Well, it is a little bit different, but not very. It actually doesn't say, so it's probably fairly variable. I'm going to say 4 instars before it becomes an adult. So you call each of these stages of development an instar. This one seems to be having some sort of attack behind. There we go, it's all right. I wonder if it's eaten something that's made it feel a little ill. All right, well, there we go. He's on the steering wheel. I'm going to return him to the grass now. He's got very powerful legs, as you can see. And be free! There we are. Tom, yes, it is in fact very good luck if a grasshopper poops on you, and if you leave the poop on the dashboard of the vehicle, you're all certain to find wild dogs killing at some stage during the course of the drive. So we are very lucky to have the lucky charm of the grasshopper poo sitting on our dashboard. let us continue. Now the tracks of this male leopard came up towards the northern boundary, which is where we are now. But I have yet to find the leopard. Oh, Taryn, you want to know how big this park is? Well, that's a nice question because it has a complicated answer. The area that we operate on is about 1,200 hectares, which if you want to work it out in acres, you multiply by 2.5 and you get to roughly 3,000 acres. But it is unfenced. And so Juma, which is the area we're on now, is that 3,000 acre area or 1,200 hectares. That is part of the Sabi Sands, which is 60,000 hectares, which is about 150,000 acres odd. But that too is not fenced, and it is part of the Greater Kruger National Park, which is 2.2 million hectares or 5 million acres. And that in turn is part of the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park, which is 3.5 million hectares or about 8.5 million acres. So it's about an 8.5 million acre area. Obviously we are not allowed to go into all of that area, unfortunately, but that's how big this area is. I'm going to reverse because I didn't see tracks of that leopard crossing this road. We just need to make sure we haven't driven past him in this very long grass. As I said to you, the grass is very long, and therefore it is not difficult to miss a spotted cat lying in it. David, tell me if you see a leopard. And then we will allow one compliment from the viewers for your camera work. Yep, there is. He's come out here and he's walked straight up into the reserve next door to us, which is on the left-hand side of your screen. And I'm afraid that means that our tracking exercise of that particular cat is now over. We cannot go in there, for there be dragons. Hic sunt draconis. There aren't really dragons in there. It's just that we're not allowed to go there because that is a private property. Now we are going to go back to Trishala, who has managed to at least find you one mammal this afternoon, even though it was only a nostril, and see if she can have a little bit more success this time.
Well, I am very scared that my leopard too has wandered off. Because I got out the car and I was looking for tracks again after we saw Scuba Steve and Snorkel Sarah and said hello. But I can't seem to find more for him. So unless he flew out of this area, he has to leave behind some sort of trail. And that's what I'm trying to follow right now. I will find him, boys and girls, I promise. I do. Now, there are other game drive vehicles that are out at the same time as us, and what they do is they can often help us. And then I listen to them on this radio right here, and then they can tell me if they've seen anything, and I can tell them if I've seen anything. And then we can come together and look for the leopards. So don't you worry, we will definitely find some exciting things. Now, James was speaking to you about boundaries and areas where you can go and areas where you can't go. This here on my right is Juma. That's where we are allowed to drive around. And this here on my left is another different reserve, and it's called Buffelshoek. And that's where we can't go. So if Tingana had decided to walk across this road into there, it would be a sad, sad day. But we did have him this morning, so hopefully he will still be around. Cross your fingers for me so that we do find him. Mita, you'd like to know how I protect myself against the wild animals. Well, there isn't really protection in terms of a fence or gate or weapons. We don't have protection like that, but the protection that we have comes from learning about the animals and learning about animal behavior and being able to predict these things. So when I see an animal, I know the type of behavior I'm going to expect, and I know when the behavior is not right or unexpected behavior, and that's when I will know how to react correctly. Lots of people think that you'll just walk across a lion or something like that and they'll just run out and attack you. It doesn't quite work like that. What will first happen is they will first be curious about you. You'll be on two legs, which is strange for them. They don't often see that because we're human, we're standing upright. And historically, back when humans and animals coexisted in the wild together, animals were hunted by man, very much. So innately, which means inside of them, the way that you know how to drink water or your mother's milk, it's just natural. They naturally feel a bit of fear when they see us, because inside it almost feels as if they're going to be hunted in a way, because that's how, in the same way that you feel that if you come across a lion you're going to get bitten, it's the same sort of thing, and it goes both ways. So we rely on that a lot. We rely on the fact that they're not going to approach us, and if they do, there's certain things we'll look for. Maybe they'll stalk very slowly. Maybe they'll hiss at us like a lion does. That's hardly a hiss, but it does that sort of, as if it got scared a little bit. So there's those things that we look out for, and that's how we make sure that we're protected all the time. Also, we make sure that we don't behave in any silly ways. We don't walk out too far away from the vehicle when we know that there's animals around. Like I had to get out to look for more tracks of Tingana, but I make sure that I'm always looking around to see if I can see any little rosettes in the grass and if he's watching me. But the likelihood is that he probably saw me, or he sees me whenever I'm out of the car around the area where he's been seen, but he doesn't want to attack me. It's not as if they are evil creatures that want to just constantly attack us. Not at all. In fact, they're far from that. So now I'm looking for more tracks. This is another boundary of ours, and I look at boundaries because that'll let me know that the animal is still inside the game reserve. Well, I will keep on looking, and hopefully in the process come across some other nice animals, especially some elephants. I'd like that. So let's go over to James Henry.
I too am trying to find some other nice animals, and the other nice animal that I found for you is this butterfly. David, I would love to give you butterflies to film because our viewers said that you are such a good cameraman, and so therefore you can catch all the butterflies as they fly. Come on then.
Where'd they go?
Well, they're just behind you.
Oh.
There's some sitting on this, well, theria bush here, which might be a little easier. They're not, in fact, moving. Can you see that one there?
I think it's behind your head.
No, dear. Is it? There we are. You can see them there. They are some of the blues. Can you see it there, David? Middle of frame. And up a bit. And if you could pull the focus back slightly. Now, you're on the right focus line now. Now go down, tilt down.
All right.
Tilt down. Keep tilting. Yes, yes. And right a bit. And down a bit. There. No. Stop. Up. Now it's flown. There we are. There it is. That's him. He is one of the blues. No. Yes, in fact, I'm pretty sure he's one of the blues. He's beautiful. Kirsten in the final control just saying, "Awesome, David, well done." Well, she, of course, doesn't have to deal with him. Let me just see if I can find this butterfly. James Richard, I'm assuming you're watching. If you would like to help me out with this, I won't say no thank you. I'm just quickly checking my app. A lot of them look very similar.
There he goes.
Is he gone?
Yeah.
Okay, hang on. Let me quickly check. Blue. Now. Has he gone? I'm just quickly going through some of the zebra blues. No, it's definitely not him. I've seen that butterfly before. Ah, I'm going to go with dotted blue on that one. A dotted, that's him. Well spotted. Right, let me go to the dotted blue now. Looks pretty good, actually. Yes. Yes, quickly, David, take the camera off it before I change my mind. And show the viewers that I think I have found it. Oh, there we are. I think that's him. Now the reason he's called a blue, of course, if David goes up a little bit, is that the top of his wings are blue. Can you see him nicely or not really?
I mean, that's all right.
Is it okay? A bit bright, the screen's not great, sorry about that. But better than nothing, you know? So a dotted blue I think we'll go for. There are a number of them that look very similar, but not quite as obvious as that one. Dotted blue. Anyone like to corroborate me? If you disagree with me, keep it to yourself. Beautiful. On the plant that keeps on giving, that is Waltheria indica. Now we are coming into the area where we hope to find the lions earlier on. I got a couple of strangely differing locations from my colleagues. Steve Cantrell, would it lay an egg? Was it laying eggs? No, I think it was feeding, Steve. I don't think that that's their larval host plant. So they eat those ones. The adults eat them. But I don't think that they lay their eggs on that particular plant. And so if I go back to it, what I'll be able to do, kids, never use your phone while you're driving. This is, do as I say and not as I do. If I go to the blues and find the larval plant, dotted blue text, wingspan identification, distribution, habitat, flight period, larval food is Sisyphus. So you will find that that particular butterfly will be feeding on the nectar available on the Waltheria plant, and then it will fly off to a buffalo thorn, like a the only Sisyphus we get here, Sisyphus mucronata, or the buffalo thorn, and it will lay its eggs on that plant, so that when the caterpillars are born, they eat, or they are born on their food. Basically, it'd be like giving birth into a vat of milk, I suppose. That's a really stupid analogy, and I apologize for it. In fact, it's so bad. Now, let's see if the lions have gone down towards the water, or if I'm going to have to walk through this very thick grass and see if I can find them. We'll go down to the water first, I think, and have a quick look-see. It's been relatively warm today. Hello, Henk. You're wondering about rain and when we last had some. Tristan tells me that we had about 5 or 6 millimeters during the course of last week. Not very much. You can see that although the vegetation is very long, it's starting to turn from green to yellow, which at this time of the year is not unusual, but I really don't think that we're going to have a very easy dry season. We have not had a lot of rain, and the rainy season, well, we might have rain in April, but after April you really wouldn't give it much chance of raining until, well, November. So I think the animals are going to have to, as they say in South Africa, fuss bait, which means to bite hard, basically, and it's a nice expression that means, you know, tough it out. But for now, it's just gorgeous. April, March, best time of year out here, I think. We'll just pop down to this waterhole. I don't see any tracks here, so I'm not sure that they're going to be here. But while we do that, let us go back to Trishala, who is, well, she's driving.
Yes, back to me. And I'm desperately looking for my leopard. I've gone back just a little bit because it's always important if you lose tracks or you lose kind of orientation on where you think the animal might be, to go back to first track or last track actually. Now I thought I saw something. Thought I saw a track. Oh, it sounds like the other vehicles are out, so they'll be able to help us. No, nothing. Nothing yet. But thankfully, now that the other vehicles are out, they can also help us. Here you can get a nice kind of view through that gap of the vastness of where we are. Look at that. Trees and trees and trees and trees. Isn't it beautiful? All those dead trees in amongst them too. And those dead trees are important because they can be nesting sites for lots of birds that will drill holes in them and then go and nest in them. So you can find little birdies, little eggs sometimes. Often you'll even find them peeking their heads out, which is quite cute. So we're still on our quest. We are indeed. Now I have one place that I have in mind that I want to check just in case, because I know that he likes to hang around. Another little pan that's near the big one that we went to. So I'm going to check that area out. And sometimes if I'm looking for a leopard, I can also hear if other animals are making any noises, because other animals don't like leopards to be around or lions to be around because they know that those are predators, animals that might hurt them and want to eat them. So what they do is they alarm call at them, and what that means is that it's in the same way as you have an alarm in your house or your car to let you know if somebody who's going to do something bad to you is going to come along. Oh, bumpy part. There we go. So they will alarm call, which means that they will make a different kind of noise to their usual noise, and then it'll alert. Ooh. It will alert all the other animals to the presence of a leopard or a lion. Now, Bob, you'd like to know what the strangest alarm call I've heard is, or which one I think is the strangest one? And I'd have to say that an antelope, I've heard a kudu and a nyala and an impala, all alarm call before, and they honestly do sound like a dog barking. Really, really like a dog barking. Just like that. And I never think that noise or that sound comes out of an antelope. Never think so. But as soon as you hear that, you know immediately there's something around you and something very, very close. Now, birds will also alarm call. But they can be slightly unreliable because remember, birds have a nice perch right at the top, so they can see. They can see for a long way, so they might alarm at something that's far away that I might not be able to get to. Squirrels also alarm, and they alarm like they're laughing. They go like they're kind of laughing. That also is quite funny to hear. But they also have great eyesight, so they can be alarming at something that's very far away. So your best bet is always the antelope. And sometimes when the birds... Thank you, boys and girls. 10 out of 10 squirrel alarm call. It might have just been from Kirsten. Thank you, Kirsten. Now we've just passed by that little dam that we had before. Now I am going to go around this area and check if Tingana is around here. Here you see lots of dead trees up around here. Ah, success! It seems that James has finally found something. See, the tracking put to good use. So let's go over to him.
Hello, and yes, we have. We have found the famous Nkuhuma pride. A pride of lions that is very, very special to us because, well, basically it's the main pride of lions that we've seen here. And it's very nice to have them. Now, at the moment, the Nkuhuma pride, if I'm not much mistaken, consists of 11 or 12 individuals, 5 females, and 6 youngsters. I'm just trying to remember to myself if one of the male lions here, he's a young male lion called a Mangeni male. I'm just trying to remember if he's one of those 6 or if he's an extra. I think he's an extra. So if they are all present, we should have about 12 lions here. Let's see if we can count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I can count about 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Count about 10. Now, we do think that one of the adult females, obviously one of the adult females, has got cubs, and that those cubs are stashed away on that reserve where the leopard went, so just to the north of us. And we haven't met them yet, but we are pretty sure that one of them has got cubs. But this is what lions do best, I'm afraid. They don't get up and do the can-can or perform Tchaikovsky's Sleeping Beauty during the day. They just do quite a lot of sleeping. Giraffe Girl, you say you think there are 11 and that Floppy Ear is missing. I was under the impression that Floppy Ear had been missing for quite some time. What do you mean by Floppy Ear's missing, Giraffe Girl? I actually didn't think Floppy Ear had made it to this stage of adulthood, but it's been so long since I spent a great deal of time with this lot. Now I'm getting very amusing comments from the Final Control in Johannesburg, and I must say it is very interesting how cheeky the ladies of the Final Control have become since they have left the bush. I got my camera out in order to take illegal photographs, but unfortunately, well, there's nothing really to point my great big sort of professional looking device at. I suppose I could take an artistic picture of a foot. Yes, so Giraffe Girl, you're just commenting saying Floppy Ear has been gone since last year. Now I understand exactly what you're saying. So it should be 11 actually, because of course Floppy Ear went missing. She was the 6th cub, or 6th sub-adult, so yes, we should have 5 adult females and we should have 5 sub-adults, and no, we should have 6 sub-adults with, that's right, 6 sub-adults with the Mangyan male. I think we have still only got 10 here as far as I can tell, but possibly 11. And I suspect that the mother of the new cubs, who I think is Amber Eyes, is most likely north of us tending to her young charges. Does everybody agree with what I've just said there? If you don't, you're more than welcome to tell me. You could easily be right and I could easily be wrong, difficult as that is for me to admit. Very peaceful. Let's be quiet and let's just have a little listen to what's going on. Well, as you might be able to hear, very little's going on actually. But for some starlings flying overhead going chook chook chook. Very peaceful here. I don't know that we'll spend a huge amount of time here. We'll probably move on at some stage and then come back as it cools down. Ah. Oh, apparently I am wrong. The youngest lioness is the mother, not Amber Eyes. I do apologize. It is on account of my absence that I am being so useless. I apologize for that. So the youngest lioness, not in fact Amber Eyes, is the new mother. I was just hoping, I suppose, on Amber Eyes' behalf. But I can't tell who's who here, other than to say that there is one male lion here. I did see him round the other side. But the rest of them are so fast asleep. Sinag, you say you love to observe lions sleeping. Well, it is very good that we are able to provide you with this level of joy as you watch these lions sleeping. Because sleeping they most certainly are. Ooh, I thought I had my silent shutter on there. Oops, daisies. That was me taking an illegal photograph, everybody. I do apologize. That's very naughty. Joshua, it really kind of depends where you are as to how many hunts or how frequently you witness lions hunting. In this particular area, because of the terrain, as soon as these chaps get up and start hunting at, well, let's say around about sunset, it's very unusual for you to be able to follow them through for a hunt because, of course, the bush is very thick. But sometimes we get lucky. Up in the Masai Mara, where unfortunately David is stuck in a big storm, it's much more likely that you can follow lions on a hunt. And if you sit with a lion, with a lion for, I don't know, lion pride, say for 24 hours at a time, you will see them hunting very frequently, and you can watch them hunting because the terrain is such that it's easy to do. I can see one of them is sort of awake. He's open. No, eyes are closed again. They don't look like they've eaten recently, but they look like they're very happily full. Timothy, I see that you have fallen victim, unfortunately, to the biological travesty that is the Lion King. You want to know about, could one of these young male lions become king of this pride? No, the answer is almost certainly not. What normally happens, unlike in the Lion King, is that when a male lion is born to a pride like this, at round about the age of 3 to 4 years, his father will throw him out of the area, and he will actually have to go and live in another area and find another pride to be the master of, or king of, if you like, or to protect. And often he will form a coalition with other male lions, and they will dominate or protect 2 or 3 different prides in this area. But very seldom will the male lion born to a pride become the dominant male lion of that pride. And there's a very good reason for that, Timothy. The reason for that is to avoid what we call inbreeding. And so the more lions move around and the more the males, or further away the males go from where they were born, the better it is actually for the entire lion population. And so that's what happens. Very quiet, gentle breeze blowing over them. Ow! I was just bitten by a fly. Tomorrow you're wondering about how big lions can grow to be. Well, a big male lion can weigh up to 200 kilograms, which is about 440 pounds. That's a pretty big male lion. I think the record was 260 kilograms, which is around about 600 pounds or so. So that's massive, but that's very unusual. So between 180 and 200 kilograms or so. And then a female can weigh between 120 and 150 kilograms, probably normally closer to 120. And that is about 250 to 260 pounds. Obviously, a lot of these kinds of numbers are estimates. And sometimes, yes, actual animals are weighed, but often they're estimates. And there is variation between areas. So lions in this particular part of the world will weigh slightly different amounts to lions in the Masai Mara, for example, where I think they're probably slightly heavier on average. Very peaceful Saturday afternoon these guys are having. They're not watching any sport. Travels with Sarah, there are a number of things that would wake these lions up right now. For example, if I was to set off a number of fireworks in this area, you'd find that the lions woke up quite quickly. The other thing that would almost certainly wake them up and result in quite an interesting reaction would be if I got out of the car. Now, we're only sitting about 10 meters from them, and so were I to decide to get out of this car and walk over towards them, they'd wake up very smartly indeed and most likely run away in terror. Well, it could have the opposite result, but very unlikely. And so what you'd find is that any kind of disturbance from something they perceived as a predator would wake them up, or a disturbance from something they see as prey. So if a kudu came walking through this woodland, browsing and minding its own business, that would wake them up very quickly. And although they look like they're completely asleep, they're not. They are dozing. In the same way that you might doze on your sofa on a Saturday afternoon, you'd kind of wake up if someone came into the room or if there was a loud noise outside. They don't sleep like we do during the night, where, you know, for many of us, there could be a bomb outside and we wouldn't wake up. The lions are not like that. And they're just so used to our voices as human beings in this particular area that even, my voice won't wake them up. All the vehicles coming in, because they know what they are. They don't perceive them as a threat. But if I got out of this car, then we would see all sorts of action. But I'm not going to get out of the car. David, do you want to get out of the car? No, David also doesn't want to get out of the car. Okay, I believe we're going to go across to Trishala, who is giving a very good demonstration of her driving skills.
Yes, you are coming back to me, and of course we're still on the lookout for this leopard, but what I have decided to just stop and show you very quickly is a plant. Of course, first I'm looking around, make sure he's not around here so I don't get bitten. But I have for you what is called a buffalo thorn. Now I'm going to take a little piece and bring it closer so you can actually have a look at it. Oh, they're quite nasty, which is what... Ow, see, they're quite nasty. Craig, can you zoom into the thorns from there? Cool, so, first off, it's called a buffalo thorn, and apparently... I've had the berries very often, but you can even eat the leaves. Very spinachy, Not bad tasting at all. Could throw that in a salad. There's even a little berry. Found a little berry. So I'm going to eat him. See what he tastes like. Like sweet lettuce. I'm having a salad. Now I want to break one off, if I can, without hurting myself, and show it to you up close. Eek. Oh, these things are so nasty. Now, we often say that these things get abused by us because we see so many of them and we talk about them so often, but I think that they abuse us more than we abuse them. Ow. Ow. Because if you have a look, maybe I should just stand up here so it's a bit better. If you have a look here, do you want me to put it on the dash, Craig? Would that be better? So you can have a better look. Okay, so you can see there's a straight thorn there and a hooked thorn on the other side. So no matter what, you're going to get hooked if it grabs onto you. Maybe, now let me put it on the dashboard so you can have a better look. There you go. Yeah, so you get hooked no matter what, which is very, very painful. You have here the straight thorn, just to the top there. Oh, my hat, there we go. So there's the straight thorn right there, and there's the little hook as well. So you can't just move backwards and think that you're going to make it out, unfortunately. You'll have to do quite a bit of wiggling to make it out properly. In fact, there was once upon a time when we were training that we were asked to cut down one of these buffalo thorn bushes. It was horrible. I found so many embedded in my fingers from that slasher. It really was something else. And now I've got a little one here too. I have to try and take that out later. No, I'm not showing you guys. It's gross. Laurie, was that you? You said it sounds or something to the effect that it's horrible. It really is. It really, really is. It's one of those bushes. Well, when you think about it, considering that the leaves are tasty and palatable, and the berries are too, it would want to protect itself against being browsed by all the herbivores. Anyway, James has those lovely lions for you, so let's go back to him.
And the lions are doing as they were doing before, not very much at all. You can see them just lying there. That one that you can see, well, I was thinking more the one that's lying sort of on its back there, David. Yes, there we are. Looks like it could not be more comfortable if it tried. Isn't that lovely? And I think that's rather splendid, although I don't think we'll stay here the whole afternoon. I think it would be time to head off fairly soon. I know our kids' drive is drawing to a close, so we'll stay here for the end of that. Hello, Mrs. Lapwing. Your question is, where are you exactly? Well, Mrs. Lapwing, that could be answered in so many ways. Where am I? Specifically on this reserve, I am quite near Galago Shortcut and the junction with the Vuyatela main axis, so pretty much central north central of Djuma Private Game Reserve. And if you are internet savvy, which most of you are, of course, otherwise you wouldn't be watching this, you can actually find those road names on the Google map of Djuma, and so you can see precisely where I am. One day we will have GPS trackers so that you can actually see exactly where we are all the time, which would be very exciting indeed. Right, well, it's time for us to bid a fond adieu to all the young kids who've been watching. So thank you very much for watching our Nat Geo Kids show, wherever you happen to be in the world. I hope that we've given you a taste of what it's like to be in Africa and to enjoy these iconic and unfortunately threatened African animals, and I hope that you will help champion their conservation over the coming years. Until next time, I hope you stay safe and happy. Bye-bye. Righty, hello everybody and welcome to the regular Saturday afternoon drive. Here we sit with the Nkuhuma Pride. Thank you very much for joining on the kids' drive. I'm not sure that the audience has changed markedly since we swapped over. Anyway, here we are with the Nkuhuma Pride. I don't think we're going to spend a huge amount of time with them from now until sundown because of course they are not doing very much at all. And so we'll probably head off towards the, well, I'm actually not sure where we'll go, given that Trishala's already looking for Tingana. I'm not sure. We might go down towards the south, towards the hyena den, and see what we can find around that particular area. But they are in sweet repose, these chaps. Especially the one that is very clearly not lactating. There's a female there, very obviously not lactating. Steve, you want to know why, if it's illegal for me to take photos, that I do it? Well, why I have a camera? Well, it's because I'm a rebel, Steve. I'm just a very naughty boy. Steve, it's not illegal at all. The reason that I say it's illegal is that if you take a picture while you're live and your shutter makes a noise, it really does ruin the experience somewhat. So I'm allowed to take photographs as long as I do it with a silent shutter. And I forgot to turn my shutter off there. So I do apologize for the click that you were subjected to earlier. Oh, we've got movement, David. Calm down. Just breathe. Breathe. There we are. That's it. Keep that camera steady. Flicking of a tail. Swatting of a paw, extension of a thigh. Oh, and a burp. Very nice. I don't know if you heard that. It's the kind of noise I make when I wake up in the morning. There we are. Kirsten says she did hear that noise, but she's not sure who it's from. Well, it was one of the lions, Kirsten. Maybe you need some new earphones. I fear me the action has now died down, David. Okay. It also strikes me that this is the perfect opportunity to explain to our viewers what a focus pull is. Would you like to do a focus pull from those grasses?
Okay.
Yes. Right, everybody, this is a focus pull. Very nice. See? Grass. Don't know what's in the background. What could it be? Wow, it's lions. It's quite a nice technique, I think. Yes. David's grunting in appreciation of my artistic view of the sighting. Irish Plain, you want to know if I've ever had a sighting like Pat had the other day with lion cubs being murdered by other lions? I haven't actually, and I'm not particularly sad that I haven't seen that. I've seen dead lion cubs. I've never actually seen the act of the murder taking place. No, a very emotional sighting, very difficult to watch, and really kind of, it's one of those moments you don't really want to see. You do, but you don't, and then when you do, if it doesn't affect you emotionally, you probably should be institutionalized. You know, you're probably a psychopath, actually. And so a very sad moment that it was, but it's why lions have to give birth to so many cubs, and why, you know, we keep saying things like only 2 or 1.5 to 2 out of 10 ever make it to adulthood. Dreadful. I haven't seen it live myself. Normally happens as it did there behind a bush, where it's quite difficult to see. Very seldom happens out in the open. So that was sad, and hopefully the same fate will not befall the new youngsters of the Nkuhumas. And I'm pretty sure that these lionesses who haven't give birth are carrying youngsters, because most of them have been seen mating with the Avoca boys at one stage or another. But almost certainly 2 out of 10 will make it to adulthood, unfortunately. Not sure, I don't remember how many we had in this pride before that dreadful white muscle disease thing happened, but we lost, I think, about 5 cubs then. 5 or 6 cubs to the white muscle disease, and that wasn't even other predators. Okay, we're going to leave these cats. We'll come back to them as it gets a bit cooler, and perhaps they'll sit up and do something more useful than lie in a carpet. While we do that, let us go across to Trishala, who I think is still drag racing.
Well, James is very lucky that he's found those cats. Oh, I can hear some shouting testiculars. Let's listen to them. Now, they seem to be up in this great big leadwood here. And that is a rattling testicular that we can hear. Now, they will often alarm. Now, there's a Franklin going off as well. Now, they will often alarm when something's around, which is a good signal for me because, like I said, I am looking for Tingana. But the problem is they're so high up and they can see for so long that they might be looking at him and he might be a couple hundred meters away. Nevertheless, we are in the right area, so we will be looking. Hopefully, we'll find him shortly. So this is a nice, great big leadwood. I quite like a leadwood tree. Very pretty. Combretum imberbe. That's its botanical name. And you can see the very distinctive bark and leaves. The leaves are tiny and kind of crinkled, and they have little spines on the stems that come off. And if you take a look down at the branch, at the actual main trunk of the tree, there we go. You'll see that it looks very much like crinkled crocodile skin-like almost. And when they're dead, they look very much the same, with the bark looking that way. And they can stand up to about 100 years after they've died. And they're a protected tree here in South Africa because often things burrow in there and build nests. So even after its death, it can still provide a lot to the environment. It's a very cool little tree. Not so little, very cool large tree. So anyway, these testiculars are giving us a bit of an indication that there might be something around, and of course looking for Tingana, and there might have possibly been Tandi around as well. But the tracks that I saw were definitely Tingana's. Sorry, I just heard something and I'm Detective, remember? Detective Trish? Hercule Poirot, Trish Poirot, my moustache. So hopefully this time I'll be a little bit more successful in actually finding a leopard. So let us be on our way. Now I have a feeling that he's tucked himself amongst the grass in the nice cool of the shade of the grass, and then also it gives a nice sort of padding to where he lies down. So I have a feeling he's in the grass somewhere here, in a bit of shade and catching some breeze. Now, I haven't been paying attention very much to up in the actual trees. Laura, you'd like to know how far the vehicles can stay away from the animals. I think that's what it was. Well, obviously we want to keep a really good distance because you don't want to, A, frighten the animal or spook it in any way. Let's just go up here and see if we can find some tracks here. And of course, you don't want to be in their personal space to the extent where, sorry guys, I'm just looking for tracks at the same time, but I see none. You also don't want to be in their space to the extent where you're putting yourself in danger, and of course, you're aggravating the animal. Think of it as being cornered. It would take a lot for you to maybe hit somebody or to fight or anything like that. But if you're cornered and you have nowhere to go, then your reaction might be slightly different to how it is when you're normal and you have somewhere to run or somewhere to hide. So the last thing we want to do is come so close to animals that they actually feel uncomfortable and that they feel threatened by us, because that is our main concern. We don't want the animals to feel that way. But we have spoken about this before, especially with habituating animals to the cars and the vehicles, that they understand that these are vehicles. Well, I say understand in terms of they don't attack the vehicles, they don't feel threatened by the vehicles, and we can drive past them quite easily without threatening them in any way. And sometimes you'll find that they'll pass right by us, completely right by us, and when they do, it's usually that they are walking toward us as opposed to we coming up and driving and pulling up right in front of their face and giving them a scare. And when that happens, it's very close, it's within a meter, but I am not threatening the animal in any way. The animal has decided to move in this direction. So in general, we keep, I'd say a good 10 meters, if not more, away from an animal, and then if it moves closer, all the better for us. Sometimes if you see when I go to the hyena den and little Plonk and even Pretty's two cubs, they come so close to my shoes here. But it's not us that are going ahead and intruding on their space very much. So it's the opposite way around. I wonder if they get taught. Don't go close to the vehicles, you might threaten the humans. Imagine. Obviously, Plonk is not listening. So I have checked out another regular haunt of Tingana, and that is a little pan on the side, but he wasn't there. But also the pan was quite dried up, so going back to another track that we saw, and we're going to go from there. In the meantime, let us go over to James, who seems to have not found, but left the Nkuhumas and is looking for something else.
Righty, in the meantime, indeed. Oh, David, look at that. Squirrelotto. Can you see it?
Sorry, what?
A squirrel. It is moving there, in amongst the bushes. Can you see it? Ah, yes, you have it in sort of middle left frame. There you've got it, middle of frame, that's it. It is foraging. A squirrel buried a nut outside my room the other day. We went to see if it had, we sort of went to look in the hole a day later and it was gone already. So I'm not sure if a thieving squirrel took it or if some other organism took it. We've got him still. Oh. Now, interestingly, and I don't know why I've never noticed this before, but this is the first kind of year that I've noticed them living in termite mounds. I always used to assume that they would live in tree holes, which is where they most commonly live, but they definitely do live in these termite mounds as well. And I suspect this little fellow, or felless, I'm not sure which, lives in this termite mound. What's the opposite, or what's the female version of a fellow? What it's doing now is cooling down its belly. They do that to lose heat. And of course, the smaller you are, the more likely you are to heat up. And so you need very clever ways of losing heat. And that is one of the methods used by the tree squirrel. It is also, of course, Saturday afternoon, and so the tree squirrel is just taking a load off, really. Nice not to be at work. This particular tree squirrel works in an oil refinery. And so you can imagine the joy of not being at work. Obviously, I'm talking rubbish. Squirrels don't work in oil refineries. It actually works in a brewery. Linda, you say it's so cute. It is indeed very cute. Until it bit you, of course, in which case it would cease to be cute and would then be the source of rabies. They can carry rabies. Doesn't mean they all do, but they can. So if a squirrel does bite you, please go and get post-exposure treatment. That's not a very happy thought, I know. I'm sorry about that. Well, Jacqueline, you know, that's one of the things about being a professional, you see. You do need to be able to have good eyes and see well. And you say that you're amazed that we're able to see so many well-hidden creatures in amongst the bush. Yes, well, you know, many years of training, lots of innate talent, huge dedication to the cause. I mean, it's not everyone that can do it, I must say. Very few, in fact, are able to achieve the things that we do with our eyes. I am, of course, talking absolute nonsense. It's much, much harder for you to be able to see what's going on here because you're looking at it through a camera. And also, if you were to come to a place like this and find that you didn't see things immediately, you'd find after 3 or 4 or 5 days, your eyes would adjust and you'd start to pick out things that you just didn't see before. So your brain, your eyes and your brain learn to pick out the bits and pieces of detail. I certainly don't have exceptional eyes. In fact, I've got probably slightly less than average eyes, but I can pick out bits and pieces here just through the process of learning. That's all that's going on there. Alpha Dog, you said that I've been at the apple juice. Alpha Dog, that is very unkind. I will tell you, however, that David gave me a piece of his nachi, and nachi, of course, has no equivalent in the United States or anywhere else, I don't think. I think its closest equivalent is a clementine. And, well, unfortunately, he just applied sunscreen to his person, and so it was disgusting. It tasted like sunscreen. And maybe that has affected my psyche, not my psyche, it affected my physiology such that I am now behaving as if I've been at the apple juice. I do apologize for that. It's David's fault again. Now, I heard that there was an elephant down at the waterhole here earlier on. Probably not there anymore, but could be quite close by, and so that's what we'll go and look for. And then maybe we'll do a little turn around Treehouse Dam area. And also, Kirsten says, vervet monkeys. I see this road is fast becoming a canyon. Hello, Karen. Let us look at these impala while I answer your question. This particular park is, well, never very wet, you see, so you can stay here all year round. There are a number of places in Africa, however, where you cannot be around all year. Many of the parks in Zambia, for example, become inundated, and you can't be around them during the wet season. So they'll pack up the camps and move out for 4 or 5 months at a time. But that doesn't occur here, and nor does it occur in the Mara. And so we can be in these camps all year round. There's no problem with that. I'd say by and large you can be in most African parks all year round. It's very few that you have to move out of because of the rain or the wetness. And certainly, interestingly, in Botswana, in the Okavango, in the wintertime, when the floodwaters from the Angolan heights kind of inundate the area, they don't close at all, but some camps change their activities completely. And some of them will become water-based camps where instead of going on game drives and walks, you spend your time in motorboats and dugout canoes or makoros, doing your game viewing from there, which is very special. There's a very irritated bird behind us. It is a little flock of white-crested helmet shrikes. I'm just going to go back a bit. I wonder if they haven't seen a snook. By that I mean snake. I don't mean a fish. There is a fish in South Africa called a snook, and I think it's a Cape salmon, isn't it? There they go. No, they've flown off. They're having a dispute of some sort. I don't think there's a predator here. Okay, let's carry on. Shortly, the impala rut will begin, of course, and the peaceful nature with which the impala have viewed each other hitherto will change, and they'll start to get upset with each other. And in fact, Tristan was saying yesterday that the impala rut seems to actually have begun already. And males such as this, well, they won't be experiencing it just yet because they're a bit young. But the older ones will start to dislike each other fairly intensely. These ones are over a year old. They were born in the December of 2018. And so they've got another year or two before they join in the rut, which I think is one of the most amusing times out here, especially when you hear human beings talk about the rut. And we talk about it as if it's sort of a quaint, very foreign concept to us as human beings, but of course it is not. You can watch men rutting in a bar any time. In fact, yesterday evening was Friday, of course, and if you want to see male human beings rutting, it's not very difficult. Just near our office in Johannesburg, in fact, there's a bar there. And, well, you pop yourself in there on a Friday afternoon and you'll see some amazing behavior from Johannesburg's alpha males. This time of year also brings with it, of course, this beautiful grass, which frames up lovely scenes like that little impala spat. It's not a serious fight yet. I'm of no doubt, though, that it's, well, shouldn't say I have no doubt. It's quite likely that that sort of sparring is being encouraged by the smell of the females coming into estrus. Or, now I'm talking rubbish, of course, it's the testosterone levels that cause the fighting, which then cause the females to come into estrus. So ignore what I've just said. It'll be the changing day length that is increasing the testosterone in their bodies, and that's what's making them fight a little bit. They won't have a huge flood of the hormone like the adults. On we go. I don't see the elephant. Does anybody know which direction the elephant went? Anybody? And for those of you who are wondering, David Gathamba Githu is still caught in a storm. I will tell you for free that what he's doing right now is sipping on a cup of oversweet tea and eating a biscuit. Ah, you say the elephant was heading towards Gallagher. Thank you very much, Corin. We'll drive around that way. We'll first see if we can't find some birds here at the waterhole. No sound of woodland kingfishers anymore. There probably are one or two around, but they'll be leaving soon. Gosh, look at this, David. It looks like a bird party for one. There is a grey heron. Lonely, lonely grey heron. No friends of the same species or any other species. Ooh. David, there's also a kudu in front of us, and some monkeys, and a nyala. Gosh, our cup runneth over. There's the kudu bull. Interestingly, it looked like it was eating some guarabush, which is unlikely. Puma, you say, why have we seen so many or so few kudu bulls this season? I'm not sure that that's the case, is it? Have we? I think it's just been pretty thick. You might find that the drought or the dryness leading up to this wet season resulted in some of them dying off because they are vulnerable to drought, because they're vulnerable to tannin. And so the drier it is, the more the tannin there will be in their food, and the more likely it is that they will eat themselves to death. But I don't think that there are fewer than normal. I don't think. And then, David, the other side of the damn wall here, there is a nyala bull. You see it there? No. Just there where I'm pointing. It's just peeping out from behind that bush. That's it, you got him. See, he's... he looks like he's trying not to be seen. I always quite like to see nyalas and kudus together because you get a real impression for the difference in size. And that nyala bull, he's not an adult yet, but he'll weigh around about 100 kilograms, 220 pounds one day. But Well, a big kudu will weigh more than 250 kilos. I think that's, in fact, if I'm not mistaken, up to 350 kilograms. I'm just going to check that to make sure I'm not telling you a lie. I wish I could remember this stuff. Greater kudu. No, yeah, up to 250. So 225. Very good. Let me just have a look what that one's eating. Looks to be a white berry bush. All the white berries are finished now. Yeah, no, it's a Sisyphus. The larval food plant of the spotted blue, believe it or not. Now, it's not often that I am able to claim that I have found more mammals than the other person out on drive, but today, well, that is inescapably true.
Yes, you are able to claim more animals than the others today. For now. I still have success in my mind. Here we have a pretty lilac-breasted roller. Yeah, take that, James. Hey, pretty guy. Very nice. I think that's the first one I've ever put on camera on my own. Really, really, really pretty. Thank you. Kirst says I win. There we go. I hope James hears that. Cool little lilac-breasted roller. Are you going to do anything for us, buddy? No. Well, we still are on the quest for Tingana. Ah. And you just flew off for us. Oh, you got something. Off he goes. What a beautiful color. Always has, I mean, we see them a lot and they are fairly common, but, sorry, flies. But the colors are really, really, really pretty. And especially when they fly down and they swoop down and you can see the really bright blues on their shoulders and their wings, the back of their wings. Kirst says it's a live kill. Yeah, James, take that. It's always quite cool to link to and from James because we've never really done that, especially since he's been on camera for so long when we've been training, that we hardly gotten to do that. So it's quite fun to be able to link to him and, of course, see what comment he has about me. She has many. So we've moved away from that block where Tingana was last seen this morning. And apparently James is doing weird hand signals. He does this often. Yes, he does. We get to know him very well, spending all this time. But he's distracting me from my job. Now, we were looking for Tingana, and we have moved away from that block for now. And from what we see, and I mean, we saw tracks, things like that. We had a good look in that little block, but we didn't see anything. So the likelihood of him having moved is fairly likely because he was really on the fringes of that block, which was right by the boundary there. So he could have very easily moved. But I still have some hope. I hope you guys still have some hope too. That we'll find old, as Craig says, tingles. I like that. I know it doesn't sound manly and tough like Tingana, but I like tingles. What do you guys like to call them? Do you guys have nicknames for the leopards? If you do, use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter and let us know what your little nicknames are for our leopards here. I think we have some quite cool names. Even like Snorkel Sarah and Scuba Steve. So are their first names Snorkel and Scuba and their second names Sarah and Steve? Because I'd like to know what nickname I have for Tlalamba. I don't have a nickname for her, but I have her song. La 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 bamba. But she never responds to it, and I can't understand why. I thought my singing is beautiful.
We need the crickets for this.
Craig says we need the cricket sounds for this. Yes, definitely. But yeah, like Scuba Steve, Snorkel Sarah. Also strange names. Yeah, I like Tingles. Paula, you say you call him Tingy. Yes, a few of the guides here call him Tingy as well. I think it's nice and affectionate. T-Man. Mr. T. More appropriate, I suppose. At the junctions, we tend to look for tracks because the soil is nice and soft. And when it's nice and soft soil, the tracks are quite distinct. But when it's hard and clay, then you can't see anything really. Even stones, because now you're getting, the animal's not getting to put their whole pad down on the ground. So a little bit difficult along these roads. Nonetheless, we always keep a lookout. Monique, you say you call Tingana Tingy Mingy, so you've given him a last name as well. Good on you. He deserves a last name. I wonder if all their last names should be Juma since they're here. Like Tingana Juma, Talamba Juma. I don't know. But I think they need last names. Susan, did you just say you call Hosanna Ho-Ho? Okay. I can imagine him dressed up in a Santa suit and... Sure, I can. Ho-Ho. Okay. For Tandi, we didn't discuss Tandi. Tandi could be... Well, she could be Mrs. T, but that's not very creative. Speaking of Tandi, she was probably around that area as well. This morning there were kudu alarming in the direction away from Tingana, so that's quite interesting. So she could also be around. Even the birds seem to be a bit quiet today. Oh, we have some starlings up here. Those look like Birchall starlings. You can see that their eyes are dark and their tail is quite long compared to the other starlings that we get that have the yellowy eye. Very, very pretty. I always like to stop and look at them. My interview drive way back in September, October, of August last year, I spoke about them. They were the only thing I really knew anything about at that point. Very nice. See, guys, you got me all the way to here, 5 months later. With the help of them. Now, how beautiful is that color? We've spoken about color a lot. And I've learned many, many things about color that I didn't really expect. Color can be totally structural, and that's what these guys are showing at the moment. There is no blue on it. There is no color on it except melanin, which is just the darkness that kind of strengthens the feathers and barbs that are on the feathers. But there's no color. That color is just coming from different sort of scattering that's happening along the structure of the keratin on the feathers that's creating that beautiful color. And of course the iridescence that you're seeing, that's the shininess. Some of my favorite colors in him turquoise, blue, purple, indigo, violets, lovely colors that just get combined. Now you can see in this light, which is, it's not the strongest light ever, he just looks, or it just looks like it's one solid kind of color. There's not much variation. And you can see that it's quite dull. It looks quite close to black. But in different light, it will look completely different because of that scattering. Cool, hey? I think they are, at least. Right, well, let us move on, see what else we can find. Maybe it'll become a birding afternoon, after all. Who knows? Well, Kirst says we have to go to Uncle James, but I don't like to call him Uncle James. He's not an uncle. Shame. Okay, maybe he is, just a bit. He is our teacher. He's our sensei. So let's go over to Sensei James.
That's very nice. Thank you, Trishala, for not calling me Uncle James. I was not cast any aspersions upon your skills this afternoon again. Kirsten, of course, in the final control, can go and suck on a lemon. See how she enjoys that. Yes, Trishala says my name is Sensei James. She's definitely going to ask me for something at the end of this drive. Possibly extra leave. Sensei James has not managed to find anything of use since I last saw you. I did manage to find a daika and some nyalas, but none of which were of any use to the camera. Let's go past this little waterhole over here. I wanted to say something about that. Oh, yes. I apologize for speaking about myself in the third person, but it reminded me of a very wonderful... we have the elections coming up in this country soon, the 8th of May, and I think as it is in every single country in the world, you have the major parties and then you have a number of jokers who really are very difficult to fathom what on earth they think they're doing trying to run for some sort of political office. Here comes Trishala as we speak. Anyway, I shall get back to the story now, after I've given the obligatory greeting. Hi. Hi, yes, good. Huh, or whatever they say. Anyway, she said, hi, Sensei. I feel all good about myself. Anyway, there's a fellow who used to run the South African Broadcasting Corporation who has now decided that he is going to be the leader of a political party. And I'm not sure if I'm allowed... Oh, of course I can give you his name. You can go and find his opening gambit, if you like, on Twitter. His name is Hlaudi Motsoneng. Go and do yourself a favor. If you're feeling like a bit of a laugh, it's a good one. It's a great one. Anyway, we'll have lots more comedy from our politicians in the lead-up to our elections next month. Same as it is everywhere in the world, I suppose, as I said. Nothing at these pans. It'd be quite funny if we found a leopard at one of these pans that Trishala had just driven past. Let's just have a quick look. Do you see any leopards at that pan? No. I do see some doves. No, Sue, I don't think that being a camera operator has changed my driving style. I am more sympathetic to the cameraman. I am simply unable to drive more effectively, however, and so it's made no difference to them. However, when I do hit a bump and compact the base of their spines, I now do feel sympathy for them, whereas before I just used to tell them to shut up and stop complaining. I have a small problem known as monocular vision, which some of you will know about, which means that I don't see in 3 dimensions in the same way that everyone else does. And so what that means is that bumps and things kind of sneak up on me faster than they would other people. And so I tend to be a little bit off on the timing of the brakes sometimes. That's my excuse anyway. For those of you who don't know, I was voted the worst driver at SafariLive by the cameraman all my colleagues in the guiding department or presenting department. I think all the tech people agree the same. I think even Zodwa, who helps us do the camp cleaning, agree that I was the worst driver at SafariLive. In the face of that evidence, I can but say, well, they must be correct, and it's possibly me and not them. Certainly being a camera operator has given me a greater appreciation for where to park the car and how frustrating it must be when I don't park the car correctly. I'm not sure if it's made a difference to how I park the car, but certainly I understand. I'm much more empathetic now with the cameraman. Let's say things are looking a little quiet out here. We may have to head back to the Lions. I don't think it's worth going but for in the next maybe 15 minutes or so. I bet Trishal is going toward the hyena den, which I think is a very good idea. This will be a good time to check. Oh my goodness, this is wonderful stuff. I believe the weather has cleared sufficiently in East Africa for you to go and say hello to David.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and Jumbo, and welcome to the East African country of Kenya and in the Masimara Game Reserve. My name is David on camera. It's Big James. James, how are you, sir? We have two Jameses. I'm sure you got one in Juma in South Africa, and we've got this other James here who is trying to cough. I'm telling him not to cough, but to show us some elephants, and I might try to explain why I have been away. We have been being beaten here by rains for the last 1 hour and about 15 minutes. Very, very heavy rains. But now these elephants here have braced the rains, and you can see they have a little bit different color now because of having been washed and cleaned by the rain, and all the gray in them is all gone. They are all wet, and that's how they look on their wrinkled skins. The lighting is not the very best, of course, because there's too much cloud cover at the moment. And we started with some very good temperatures, but definitely by now those temperatures, I'm sure, have tremendously gone down. I've been following my friends Trishal and James, talking about the cats and all the nicknames that want to give them. As much as I've been away, or me and James have been away, but I've been following their debate very well, and have liked some of the nicknames they would want to give those cats, and more so the leopards, Tingana and Hosanna, and there's some words, or some names I would want to think about. Main reason why, we disappeared, apart from the rains, we had huge thunderstorms and lightnings. And what would happen for us to get to your screens? We have a lot of connections from the car before we get into the air. And on top of our car, we have a very huge antenna. And we normally don't want to take any chances or take any risk. Should the antenna arrest or get some lightning, it could maybe damage the equipment of the camera, which is pretty expensive equipment. So we better safe than sorry. And what we normally do is just to switch off everything. But now it has cleared. The rains have stopped. And all feels and looks, I would say, it smells so very good out here in the air. Well, very good. I got a question from Casti, who is directing the show today. And all of you wondering whether I have any latest update about the mother giraffe. Not really. Lauren, my friend, was out this morning, and she spent a lot of time there because that mother giraffe did not move from there. And I'm sure you all know I love lions, and more so the sausage tree pride. So these two, I would say, the sausage tree pride and the giraffe, they're in very opposite directions. So I had a choice either to go to the mother giraffe or go to the lions, and I chose to go to the lions. I haven't got any update from that. And I'm sure maybe during this drive, I might be talking to one of my friends or any of the guides who could be out there and ask them whether they have any update on that mother giraffe. My thinking is she could still be there. You know, there's that maternal instinct of wanting to hold to the dead baby as much as, you know, she is dead. And I've seen that happen to most of the animals here. One particular moving story I saw was of some baboons. In Kenya, we got two types of baboons. We got what we call the yellow baboons and the olive baboons. What we have been showing you every time on safari are the olive baboons. But if you go to some low elevation areas, like to a park called Amboseli National Park at the foot of Mount Kilimanjaro, we got a different species of baboons there that we call the yellow baboons. Little smallish, and as the name suggests, they're a little bit yellowish in color. Now, I saw one particular mother, a female baboon, that was holding a dead baby, and you could pick the smell of that particular baby, so which meant the baby must have died maybe 2 or 3 days or 4 days earlier, but she was still holding the baby very close to her. Well, I've been stopped here by a jacko on the road, and why are you on the road, jacko? And definitely I would guess because it's very wet in the grass, and the best thing to do is to stay in a dry area, and that's why she is there. Do you want to have a drink, or are you just running away from me? Let's see what we're going to do. Jump the water. Why are you alone? This is the black-backed or silver-backed jacko. I would not be surprised if they drink this type of water every time we have seen, you know, animals coming out of the grass because of the wetness, they'll come and have a little quick drink. But this one seems to be interested in some food of some sort. Did you catch yourself something there? It's very interesting because I didn't see you make a chase, unless definitely you knew there was something there. The only thing I saw there fly out of that point was a bird. Could it be some kind of a lark or some kind of testicular? Monique, that's a very good comment. Monique, you love jackals, and I think many people love jackals. They're always very gentle. Not sure, Monique, to compare the jackals to the cheetahs, but I think animals or canidae of this particular size, jackals, are very sweet. And we see lots of them in the Mara. And Lauren, my friend, was watching that giraffe that lost the baby, kept seeing lots of them. And I just was saying a few seconds ago, they always move in twos. Not sure, James, you see the other one that have just joined the other one. And they're very monogamous. They always move in a pair, a male and a female. Hopefully, Monique, you're going to be seeing more jackals for you today. So I was saying where Lauren was hanging out with that giraffe, there were also jackals coming in, maybe waiting for the hyenas, I would guess, to move in. If anything would have started to feed on, unfortunately, that baby giraffe, number one would be the hyenas. And it was very close to the North Clan area, where we got a very strong team of waffles, we call them. I think I had Lauren saying Waffles has since been overthrown by her granddaughter Soup. Karlsik, I'm not sure you asked whether your question, can jackals become sick? Was that the question, can they become sick or can they become tamed? If I take the first one, can they become sick? I would say, Karlsik, if that was your question, yes. Sorry, Karlsik, can jackals become sick? Very good. So, right, then I think the second one, yes. I initially thought you asked whether can they become sick or can they become tamed or can they become domesticated. Well, Karlsik, I would say maybe a big no. I would say a big no for one reason. I haven't seen anybody in Africa domesticate jackals. And the only thing, I mean, I do not know exactly why people have not done that, but I think they have not seen any value of domesticating jackals. So the only thing I would say, Karlsik, I know jackals are very good vectors or carriers of rabies. And I'm sure, you know, rabies can be such a concern to the domestic dogs. So I would imagine maybe the people would not want to take chances. So rabies is just one of the diseases I know that the jackals would carry. And they also get mange. So those two diseases, and you know how infectious or how contagious they are. So I would say the people would be like, you carry rabies, you carry mange, we don't know what else you carry, we do not want you near here. So Karthik, I would tell you, I haven't seen anybody do that, and that could be the only reason, I would guess, why people would not want to domesticate them, apart from not seeing any value of having them at home. And maybe also think people would compare having them at home or their homes with the dogs. So they better, I would say, maybe go for the no more dogs than the jackals. Well, I'm enjoying a lot of fresh air now after all the rains, and I decided I get out of the Sausage Republic. That area is where we had the biggest rain that I've seen in a very long time. I'll tell you, in Kenya, we got 2 seasons of rains. We got what we call the long rains, short rains, and currently now we should be having the long rains. I would say for me, they're coming in rather late. They should have been here from the beginning of March. But I'm sure we all know wherever we are in the world, the weather patterns have been quite erratic. So Kenya is no exception. So the question now will be, if officially the long rains have started, for how long will they go? The Mara gets an average of about 1,000 millimeters of rainfall, I would say, annually. And last year towards Christmas, when we were having the short rains, I think in about 72 hours, there was a period we got almost 300 millimeters of rain, which was a lot of rain in about 3 days. So we'll see how it will go here. But the place me and James we were debating, what do? Do we go back to the camp? And I said, no, the first thing we do, let's switch off our equipment and we put the car in a high area and we just wait. So we have taken all our layers because also it was getting chilly. And luckily, this is the very beautiful weather we got you. So we now apologize for having been missing in action, but we are here. So I will not deal with the sausages anymore, and I will look for maybe a different pride of lions, and I'm thinking of the Salt Lake. In the meantime, I'm sure in South Africa there's someone who is looking for Tingana.
Well, I have been quite lucky and unlucky at the same time because I just caught a glimpse of Tingana. Yes, right on the road. And he turned, he looked, and he walked quite quickly into the block. And then when we went into the block to have a look, it was just so thick you couldn't see him anywhere. And I saw exactly where he turned in, and I followed him in there. So now I'm going around the perimeter to see if there's tracks coming out, because maybe he came out onto one of these roads. That was quite exciting, especially since I really wanted to find him today. So I'm in the middle now. I just let everybody know that I had seen him, so maybe some people come to my assistance. So I just saw him here. He would have come through somewhere here on the right. So we're just gonna cruise and look if he'll come through. When he saw us, he seemed to be like on quite a mission, as if he thought, oh no, not you guys again. And I don't see any tracks at the moment. It's frustrating. But when I caught that glimpse of him and he just turned and looked at me like, oh, it was quite special. It was. Even though it was definitely not a face of love, it was still very special. Okay, this is too far now, so I'm gonna turn around and can go maybe towards Treehouse Dam. Now, I was actually heading towards the hyena den when I saw him. So I'm going to spend a little more time. I'm just going to spend a little more time looking for him before I make my way to the den. Kimberly, you say you hope we see him. I also hope we see him. I prematurely celebrated when I saw him. I wonder if those seconds of celebrating and me just going, yes, cost me the sighting. That would be so sad. But it is really difficult once he gets into the block, because unless you get some sort of, if you get some sort of indication from the birds or something, then you can go on that. But otherwise it's very hard. Fantastic, you say his name does mean shy. Yes, it does. It definitely does. But most of the time when we catch him kind of on the road, he doesn't tend to just like swipe off to one side. He doesn't purposely try to avoid us. But I suppose it's natural for leopards to behave in that way. I don't know the amount of leopards that have seen me that I haven't seen. There must be so many. Okay. Let's see this junction. Do you see any tracks there, Craig? Okay, well, I am on a mission now because I've seen the boy and I know that he's around. So I'm going back to where I first saw him and see if he'll come out somewhere else. In the meantime, it seems that James is driving into the brightness of the sunshine. I've done that before. You must see if his little bits of hairs are glowing, because mine did. So have a look.
The reason I'm sitting like this is so that David can get the sun in our shot with my head. Oh, but I'm too short. Hang on, wait till we get to the bottom of this hill. We're going back to the lions now, because the sun is on its way down. Look, you see how pretty our picture is. How's that, David? Yeah. Is it good? Yes, yes, good. Kirsten, aka the lemon eater, says it's not that great. Watch out, squirrel. It's actually quite nice to sit like this for a while. Gives one a bit of relief. Oh, there is something on the road. David? I think it's a hyena. I'm just going to see if we can get closer, everybody, because it's very far away. Then I will stop. I hoped it was a leopard, but it is a hyena. We'll see where the hyena leads us. Oftentimes, of course, a hyena will lead you to, meat. It's been killed by something else. Whoops. Right, let me get into my hyena viewing position. Yeah, it is a hyena loping up the road, wagging its tail. Isn't that nice? I've just received a pin from Rusty Steel. Apparently, Tandi is right next to the Umluamati. She's just sent a pin. Won't you warn Trishala, please, Kirsten? She's right near where Tingana is. I wonder if Tingana is not, in fact, following. Oops. is not following Tandi. Right, we're going to carry on to the lions. Apparently there's some alarm calling also at Vuatela Dam, which is where we were earlier with that one lonely heron. So it's all kicking off as the sun starts to set. I have no idea which hyena this is, and I'll be most impressed if any of you hyena experts can identify it from this position. I wouldn't be surprised, however. I suspect it's one of the males out on a little foraging expedition, and I wonder, not exposition, expedition, I wonder if it hasn't smelt something. Where are you going? Now the lions are quite far from here. I'd say about almost a kilometre as the crow flies. Yeah, this is a young one. Looks quite forlorn walking down this road on its own, doesn't it? It's very pretty though. Framed in a little bit of golden light. Oh, and it's heading off into Buffelshoek. Isn't it interesting how the animals like to use the roads like this? Could easily have cut through there, but because the grass is long, difficult for it to see, probably a little bit tickly on its undercarriage, and so it's decided it will just use the roads. And gone. Okay, we're going to speed down towards the lions now. See if they've got up already. Stunning little autumn afternoon that we're having. I suppose David was, I believe David was talking to you about the long rains and the short rains in the Marsi Mara, and very interesting that they haven't arrived yet. Tristan was saying, of course, if you want them to arrive, you should just send him, because whenever he arrives there, it rains like mad. But I do think it's very, I don't suppose telling, but I think it's significant that a place with such regular rain has not had any decent rain yet, which is very odd, other than the storm, so maybe they have finally arrived. Okay, let's go back to David, who is currently wearing a green tablecloth.
Well, that sounds good. Well, still on the road here, and haven't seen much because I've come to an area I rarely come, because I thought I'll chance on a different pride of lions that I said I call the Salt Lake. This whole area belongs to that particular pride that we call the Salt Lake. And the reason I decided to come and look for them, it's because there's one particular male, I'm sure you all know it, called Kipuli male. And Kipuli way back was in charge of the sausage pride females. And we have seen, he has since moved and joined that other pride that is called the Salt Lake Pride. And that pride, of course, had their own pride males that we call the coalition of the Salt Lake, which we have not seen for quite some time. Now, we think in a very short time, dynamics have changed here in the Mara. I'm sure you all remember the battle. I don't even know what I'm going to call that battle. My friend Patrick was watching two prides of lions fighting, and one was the Ololo Pride, and the other one was the River Pride. And they had a huge battle where, unfortunately, we think we lost 2 or 3 cubs from the Olololos. Maybe, I'm trying to think. I'll ask my friends, and more so Patrick, because he saw that particular fight. I would call it a battle because sometimes fights you come out with small little bruises, small little bleeds here and there, scars, but where it involves death, I won't call that one a battle. Now, maybe I'll consult particularly, maybe Lauren ask them, and all the camera operators that we have here, and we call it the Battle of the Mara River. I don't know whether that makes any sense, or Battle of the Mara River. Anyhow, we have seen dynamics changing a lot. Now, that particular fight, we think, was caused by lack or shortage of resources. Because the last 15, 20 minutes I've been driving, I have not seen a single animal. So I want to say most of the plains game that you see here, zebras, wildebeest, they are all gone to Tanzania. Now, coming back to Kipuli, we have seen Kipuli changing the dynamics here a lot. Initially, as I said, he was in charge of the sausage females. And then a new coalition that we call the Oldonyo Pike males came in and they took over. Now, Kipuli currently is in Salt Lake Pride. Now, my saying that different things have been out. Kipuli with his two youngsters that are there. My guess would be because we have another pride here that we call the Oldonyo Pride, which is huge. The last I gave a count to them, they're about 15. And they're always very skittish when they see vehicles. They're always between the southeastern of the Mara Triangle and the Serengeti National Park. So my guess is the Oldonyo Pike males left them, that coalition, and came and took over from Kipuli, and they became the pride males of the Sausage Tree Pride. Now, and then the Kipuli and his two youngsters now currently have taken over the Salt Lake Pride. Now, the coalition of the Salt Lake Pride, my guess is then, would have taken the vacuum left behind by the Oldonyo Pike males and in charge of the Oldonyo Pride. That could be the only way I would try and balance the coalition of males around this area, because those are the three main coalitions that we have. The Oldonyo Pike, Kipuli, because Kipuli himself is a force to reckon with. He got two youngsters, so he has his own coalition and he is in charge. And then, of course, we have the Salt Lake males. That's a different coalition, which I would only think currently is taking care of the Oldonyo Pride. Moving to the further side where Patrick saw that battle, we have been seeing three males that we all know, the Kicho males. We got Fang, we got the Halftail, and those ones, as far as I'm concerned, they have gone, I would say, a whole straight 1 year without any challenge. And I would say that is something very special. I would like hats off for them, because every couple of months, in general, every 6 months to 1 year, we have always seen takeovers of coalition of lions. But the Kicho males, I would say, have done a very good job, because what Kicho males are, they take care of the Olo Pride, the River Pride, the Mugoros, and also the Owino Pride. But of course, once in a while, we'll always see the prides in and out, or when the boundaries will overlap. The only thing I would say that has entered in the game now, there are two males that I used, or I still call them nomadic males, but I think now they have gotten a home in the Mara Triangle. They used to come from Serengeti National Park in Tanzania. They would come, either mate, do a bit of eating with the prides around here, and then go back. Last year in November, both of them were given a very big beating by Kipuli. But from what I've gathered the last few months, it seems to have gotten a home here. So where they are, they're very close to another coalition that we all know that's called the Scarface and his brothers. So that bit, we haven't seen them going for each other, because I'm sure at one point that one must be sorted. It's very difficult to have two coalitions very close, because the area that we see Scarface and his brothers is the area that we see another pride that you call the Paradise Pride and the Mogoro females. And that's where we got the nomadic boys that we're calling the Chelly boys now. So maybe it's not be long before we see each one of, going for each other. We're just waiting to see who will wink first. All right, I think Trushala got a spotted cat. Let's find out.
Yes, I do have a cat, but this cat is causing some confusion. Now, I did say that I thought I saw Tingana, and that he very oddly, he was on the road, and as soon as he saw us, turned, looked at us, and then came straight into this block, kind of a bit on a mission, not just the normal cruising through Tingana. And even now when we are following him, this leopard is very skittish. And I'm actually wondering if it's actually not Tingana. Very, very skittish. I actually had to come back onto the road and not off-road anymore, because it seemed that every little sound of branch or anything like that was just spooking him. It's definitely a male. You can see that sort of big dewlap and it. I'm so sure that was a male. And I couldn't get a good look at him to find out who else it was. And of course, if you know, please let us know. But I don't think that's Tingana. At first glance I did, but no, I don't. Okay, well. He seemed to... Did he move this way or that way, Craig? Okay. Oh, he was very, very skittish. Very, very, very skittish. Well, we are debating if it's Tingana or skittish male, like you all are saying. Obviously, the way he was behaving, I would go with skittish male. And I feel like I know Tingana's face. Dun, dun, dun. Let me just let everybody know. Give me one moment. Stations, I have located what appears to be a skittish male. It doesn't seem to be Tingana, and he is in the block at the junction of Savage's Track and Weaver's Nest at the moment. He's lost in there at the moment. He's very, very skittish. Okay, let's see what the others say. Now, I have also caught whiff of Tandy. So if we can't catch up with this guy, we'll go have a look for Tandy as well. I'm looking quite intently because I'm really curious now who this is. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you all. Probably the skittish male. But that was still quite cool. Oh, there's somebody standing on top of a termite mound. Maybe she's been alerted to something. Let's find a gap for you, Craig. There we go. Let me move a little forward so you can see her there. There. We've got a female kudu that's looking very alert, and now it's the same area that leopard was in. And she is now atop a termite mound to get a good view. Let's just see if she'll bark. Remember, we were talking about alarm calls earlier, and what the strangest one I've heard from. One of the strangest ones is this kudu. It sounds just like a dog barking. Ooh, this all feels quite tense. I feel tense for the kudu. You can see how her ears have turned. She's listening in all directions. Something's definitely caught her attention there in the west. I wonder if these animals are able to recognize leopards that are not the normal ones. Whether they maintain any sort of, not relationship, but a sense of, it's this criminal again, or this killer again. But she is thoroughly in... Her attention is definitely on something. So I'm going to assume that that skittish male is around her very much so. Now, Thandi is not far from here either. So it'd be interesting now. And Tingana was on the property also. So if Tingana is now going to get whiff of this guy, although I haven't seen him scent marking or anything like that, he's been silent. So he's definitely not displaying any type of dominance behavior. I'd be very, very interested to see what happens if Thandi comes in, Tingana comes in, and then the skittish male is thrown in the mix as well. Okay, well, the kudu seems to have relaxed a little bit now. So let me send you over to James with his lions while I go look for Thandi or the skittish male again.
Very interesting that, yes, the appearance of that male. When Trishala said she thought she'd seen Tingana down south where she is now, I thought to myself, that doesn't feel right, simply because, of course, Tingana is not known these days for a great deal of movement during the day. Not to say he wouldn't move during the day, but I'm pretty sure he is somewhere around Buffelshoek waterhole where he was earlier today, this morning. Anyway, our lions, as you can see, are on the verge of, well, performing, if not Tchaikovsky, they certainly look like they might be waking up slightly. They have moved roughly 10 meters or so, which is a good 35 feet from where they were before. They caught the last rays of the sun here, and now they are asleep again. This, of course, is entirely normal. This is what they do. They get up as the sun goes down. Everyone gets excited that they're about to go off hunting, and then they lie down and go to sleep again. This is entirely standard issue lion behavior for this part of the world. But they are more out in the open, and we can sort of see who is who. I've still only counted 10. There are 9 here, and there are 8 here, and there are 2 under the bushes there, and so I think we've only got 10 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes, that is how it is. Lily, that's an interesting question. I mean, I really enjoy questions like this, of course, because they sort of get close to the line of, human interaction versus animal interaction, and whether there's a difference and where that difference occurs. So do lions form close friendships within... Sorry, there's a car driving past. I just need to tell them there's some lions here. Within the pride? And the answer is yes, I think they do. Whether we'd describe them as close friendships or not, I don't know, but they certainly, you will often find, he's got them, okay, you will often find that lions within a pride will stick, two lions will stick closer to each other than another 2 lions, so they prefer to be around each other than other members of the pride. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that particularly carefully, but definitely there do seem to be closer bonds between some members of the pride than others. There we go, I've said it much more clearly. The other vehicle that has arrived is a Cheetah Plains vehicle, and that's why we didn't know it was arriving. It is, of course, electric. I know. I just can't. Dave was saying it's like a big golf cart. It is. I can't get used to it. It's so wonderful, I think. I have nothing but praise for that thing as a game viewing option. I want one. Obviously, nothing can dull the sound of sticks bashing against steel. But at least you don't have the great revving of engines. So that's the oldest lioness there that we can see cleaning and one of the other older lionesses. I'm very poor at identifying them, but the oldest lioness there, I think, is starting to lose condition. I think it's just age. She's getting on a little. I think she's into her 13th year, actually. And so it's not surprising that she should be starting to lose a bit of shape. But the rest of the pride is looking great. She's not looking too bad. You can just tell she's getting on a bit. Timothy, yes, almost certainly. That does happen from time to time, where prides will split up, for example, and if they meet up again after, months, they definitely do recognize each other. So, yeah, absolutely, they recognize each other. Whether it's the sight or the smell that they recognize, I'm not sure. I've read a few interesting things of late where we've just... we describe the 5 senses, and apparently, if you really delve into it, I think we have something like 17 senses, none of which I can name, of course, but other than the traditional 5. But you can imagine these lions have got much more sophisticated senses than ours. And so, yes, although we might not really understand how they recognize each other, I'm pretty sure that they do. In the same way that a male lion seems to be able to recognize his own offspring. That's not to say that they aren't ever cuckolded, but it does happen. Or at least it doesn't often happen, is what I meant there. Oh, there's a kingfisher. There's a woodland kingfisher around still, everybody. There's the Franklin and then the kingfisher. So the woodland kingfishers are still knocking about the place. They haven't all forsaken us just yet. Kirsten says, A firm, we heard it. It's the only positive contribution she's made to tonight's drive. It's very pleasant spending time with these lions again. And I've obviously driven over a herb or two, which is giving some... lovely scent. Hello, Sean. You're a new viewer, and you say, what happens if this narrator, I'm assuming you mean that's me, sneezes? Well, let's try it, shall we? Achoo! Achoo! There we go, Sean. Nothing happened. The reason I've done that for you is that it is a good demonstration of how completely habituated these animals become. And if you are a new viewer, and perhaps you're not familiar with safari and that sort of thing, you might think to yourself, well, these cats are obviously tame. They're like zoo animals, and they aren't. They are just totally habituated to human beings in vehicles. And so if I was to get out of the car here, Sean, they would react very badly indeed. They'd either run away, or they'd, make me a small piece of mincemeat very quickly. They are totally comfortable, however, around our cars and don't see us in the same way that they do when we're on foot. And so, yeah, I could sneeze, cough, I could probably even shout fairly loudly before they'd actually react. But it would be very different if we were on foot. And in fact, Steve, who is another one of our guides, Sean, he found them on foot today, and they moved off away from him. He was with another 2 people, and they watched him at a distance. They moved away, watched him at a distance, and then slunk off into the bush. So they have a very interesting reaction to human beings on foot. Mrs. Lapwing, you say I sneeze like a girl. Mrs. Lapwing, I don't know how girls sneeze, but I'm pretty sure it's not like this. Achoo, achoo. Look at this very sweet little scene playing out here. It's a young male and his sister or mother. Hello, Sean. You say yes. Wow, your question was answered. Well, it was a good question, so we thought we should answer it, and thank you for watching, and long may your relationship with SafariLive last. Yeah, that's one of the older lionesses that's licking or being affectionate, aloe grooming the young male. Quite possibly even his mother. Alrighty, I'm going to wait and see if these cats get up and do something. I think they will probably in the next 10 minutes or so. Let's go back up to the Marsi Mara. No, man.
Well, that's, I think, it's a good idea, James, just to stick those lions and see if they'll do something, because sometimes should anything happen, or there should be a movement of some kind of prey, be it a buffalo or zebra or wildebeest, definitely they will go for it. And now, having gotten very heavy rains here an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, things seem to be a bit quiet, but at least I'm happy I saw all those elephants there, which I am proud of. I've always said, any day you see elephants, it's a good day. Well, it has gotten dark here pretty fast, and I think it has gotten dark much earlier than normal, simply because of the rains, and of course, the clouds being very heavy. I'm thinking now this could be now the official onset of the long rains in Kenya. So we're going to brace ourselves, and I usually have some boots, what we call gumboots here, that have a zebra pattern that I have not worn for a long time. So today I am going to look for them under the bed in my tent, because I believe every other day I'll be out, I will need to put them on. I have a raincoat that I bought myself the other day when I had gone for a break in our big city called Nairobi. So it won't be more of some cold weather. It will be mainly because of the rains. Because there are times when it rains and we are still able to drive. You know, we open one side of the car or one or the other side. Now, we are already in infrared, and infrared sometimes we need to be very close to animals. We want to find out from James if these toppies, he thinks he can see them with his infrared camera or not. Firefly, what is the question? Are there any water in the Mara? As we show you some toppies there. There's some toppies here. Firefly, that's a very good question, and you'd like to know if there are any veterinarians or the vet doctors in the Mara. And yes, Firefly, 100%. We got vet doctors in the Mara. And Firefly, I might tell you something very interesting. When I was a young boy in college, I wanted to become a doctor. And particularly, I wanted to become a vet doctor. Will you believe that? Your question have taken me way back to the days I was in school, and it reminded me. But somehow, I think the competition was very big, Firefly, during those days in college. We did not have as many universities like today. We only had public universities, and you needed very, very high scores to qualify to get some to get to a public university. So I missed by, I think, a point or two. But Firefly, I am here, and I still watch these animals in one way or the other because I love them so much. So not very far from where we are, I would say an hour and a half, we have a camp where the vet doctors or veterinarians will always stay. And should we have a situation, we'll always call them. And what happens, a situation I'm talking about, it's where a human being has been involved. For example, unfortunately, an accident is involved and someone hits such a beautiful topi, we'll always think that one, man has contributed and would want, in a way, to take care of those animals. But for example, it's like a fight that we saw the other day with Patrick, lions fighting, cubs dying. We'll definitely not call the vet doctors. If we bump into an animal out there, for example, that particular hippo that Patrick was watching in the water, we do not know how it died, but there were a few theories that maybe he might or she might have broken his leg and he couldn't move very well, in the water, and maybe hyenas saw it, and then the hyenas, tried to kill it. They didn't win, and the lions came in. So in such cases, we do not call the vet doctors. We'll always leave Mother Nature to work out its own way and get its own balances. And we saw somehow the lions got some food. And I'm sure much later on, the hyenas came to finish what the lions left. Currently, the Mara River doesn't have so much water, as much as hyenas are not very good in water. The water is very low. And I would want to believe it was easy for them to get to the water and feed. Now, I got my lights on because, as I said, it has gotten dark now. And what would happen in another 5 minutes or so, I'll be taking my spotlight and start looking left to right. But as it is now, I can clearly see in the kind of natural light what is happening left, right. But in the middle of the road, I need my lights on, so I do not maybe run over frogs or toads or terrapins. Let's find out whether the Niconico Games are up to anything.
Some of them have got up, yes, and they're moving off to do their evening toilet just behind us. But I just wanted to have a quick look at the one on the left there. That is, if I'm not mistaken, the Mangan male. And he was being groomed there by the oldest female, who is most certainly not his mother. I don't think that's the Niconico male. I'm pretty sure that's the Mangani one. And now, if you are unfamiliar with the story, the Mangan male comes from a pride down south at Londolozi. And he and his two brothers arrived in this area riddled with mange, and they all tried to join the Niconico pride, and two of them disappeared. One of them almost certainly died quite close to here. We found him on his very last legs, and the pride refused to accept them for some time, and then eventually this fellow here, I think it's him, managed to kind of inveigle his way in, and they accepted him. Is that him, though? Sorry, everyone, it's been so long since I've seen them, but I'm pretty sure that that's who that is. All right, let's move back a bit, and let's see if we can get an idea of who's who. Of course, this is all very exciting until they lie down and go back to sleep. Some of you are saying, yes, that is the Mangan male, and some of you are saying, nay, it is not. In which case, it is the young Niconico male. Ah, very good point. Sorry, I think you're right. I think he is the Niconico male because he's got the pom-pom on his tail. There he comes. He's just smiling, you see. Very nice. The Mungan male does not have the pom-pom on his tail, I don't think. There's definitely a lactating female up ahead there. She's the one in front on the road there. We'll catch up with them now. 1, 2, 3, 4. I wonder if that Mungan male is not here anymore. Alright, maybe let's just wait for them all to get up. There's still quite a few next to us. These are the youngsters, I'm pretty sure. A bit shorter than the others, and they're almost not youngsters anymore, which is going to make identifying the lions in this pride very difficult. We've still got... there's still one more behind. There's a young male. He is still here. That's the Mungan male. Let's just... I'm going to wait for him. If we still got a picture of these chaps. Here he comes. Is that him? Yes, look, he's got a little pom-pom. There he is. Yeah, he's definitely smaller than Nkahuma male. And you can see his pom-pom is more just a... well, it looks like a burnt matchstick, really. But definitely a male. You can see that, David, just behind his tail. Cool. Okay. So we'll carry on following them now. Child of the universe, I think these young males have got maybe 6 months to a year left before they get chased off. It basically is up to them. As soon as they start feeling the pangs of love, if you like, for the females in this pride, then they'll be chased off. Because they'll start doing silly things like marking territory and possibly even calling. It wasn't long, there was another male, for those of you who don't know, who joined this pride from a sort of distantly related pride called the Talamati pride. And he, at aged, he was about the same age as these guys actually, and he, probably a little bit older, and he tried to mate with one of the females, and I don't know if it was a direct result of that, but very soon after that, he disappeared. And I don't think he was killed, but he left the pride. And I'm not sure if that's because the females thought this was a bit disgusting, or if the males got wind of it somehow and chased him off. Oh, there we go. We've got a lovely picture there, David, of them going down the road. Very good. Do we need to put the infrared on, or are we all right for now?
Oh, we have it on.
Oh, it's on. Oh.
It is on, not active.
David's put the infrared on. It's just not active yet, so we can change when we need to. All right, David, I'm going to drive now. I thought he was just messing around back there while we were sitting waiting for the lions to move, but no, he was being industrious. I suppose there must be some use for all that sleep you get, David. Now, I'm afraid it's very thick in here, so I can't get round them. We're just going to have to follow them from behind until it opens up a bit. But that's okay. I suppose I could go very fast around to another road, but then we might lose them. So, very clearly, following the same path, actually, that they came in on. Their tracks came into Djuma along this road. And as Jimmy was saying this morning, he said he really couldn't understand it because they seem to have done this possibly 3 times now. And I wonder if they are not trying to stay close to where there's a den site. Definitely the female who went off in front is lactating. Huh. Jinlin, I recall being asked this question before, and I'm not sure that I know the answer. Do they get grey hair as they age? We're going to go grey-scale now, appropriately. Well done. Jinlin, I'm going to say yes, probably around the muzzle, but you don't see it because their hair is white there anyway. And so I suspect they probably do get grey hair, but I couldn't say for sure. You don't see it on blonde dogs. You don't see it on a blonde Labrador like you do on a black one. Righty, we'll just keep gently moving down here after them. This one behind looks like it has a slight injury in the left foreleg, possibly the shoulder. There's a very slight limp, and perhaps that's why was most reluctant to get up. Most lions, of course, are reluctant to get up at all. Alrighty, let's go back across to Trishala. I think I actually might just turn around and try and take a different road and see if we can't catch them from the front. Let's go back to Trish.
Well, look at what I'm doing. I'm turning around as well. So we have just passed Rusty and Oli on training drive. And he has told me that Thandi is lurking somewhere around you. Of course, the darkness has fallen. That's why we're in infrared at the moment. The black and white or grey scale that you're seeing. So this makes it just that much more difficult to find her. But I have been through the Mulwati. The Mulwati is the old riverbed that kind of runs right around there where Craig is showing you guys beneath us there. And apparently Thandi was right around this area, moving up the Mulwati. So I'm going to be looking for tracks, obviously, but because of the dark, it's slightly difficult. So I am going to obviously have my lights on as well. And I want to take out my spotlight, so hopefully I can see some eyes. Oh, it seems like somebody's talking about it. No, they're talking about the lions. So I'm going to have a good scan around here. I haven't heard many alarm calls either. And then she was also in the very close vicinity to the skittish male that we saw earlier. Exciting stuff. I'm really concentrating on looking for her because the worst thing is knowing that it's there. Knowing that that animal is there, but you just can't see them. It's different when you go out looking and you have no idea yet. Let's just listen here. I hear nobody alarming. MGN, you said, come out, Thandi. Should I tell her for you? I'll tell her for you. Thandi, MGN says, please come out. I think she would probably be giving you the Thandi face look. It's not a particularly pleasant one. She definitely has a look. And it's usually one of irritation. Come on, Thandi. All of you cats are truly living up to your name today. Elusive. Camouflaged. But the eyes will not get away from me. The eyes will definitely not get away from me. Okay, well, let's see if we can do it. Let's see if we can snatch the end of the show with a bit of Tandi magic. In the meantime, let's go over to David in the Masai Mara.
Well, it's just dark here and just getting chilly here. And all the animals this particular hour are giving me a particular miss. I'm trying to see if time allows, I'll swing by that one particular giraffe with a sad story. And, you know, for those of you who might not have had Lauren yesterday, so a giraffe that had a baby that was died, I think could have been 3-4 days ago when she was born, and she wasn't sure, you know, how that happened, whether it was a stillbirth or just because of the height. You know, giraffes in general give birth while standing, and you're looking at that height of anything 6-7 feet, you know, that's such a huge drop. So if maybe it fell and unfortunately it got traumatized, who knows? I mean, there are a few theories why it could have been dead. But if different time allows, we might swing by there. Not sure if the James can catch these impalas for me. We're going to just give them a shot because we're already in infrared. And the impalas at least have come close to the road. You see there, there's so many eyes there, James. I'm going to switch off my spotlight and see the best you can do. And that's a very good job. Fantastic. And what I can hear, because I'm not very far from the Mara River, are just hippos. Very characteristic territorial calls of hippos. But very interesting, when they come out, once out grazing, it's very rare for them to make the calls. Now, Trishala had a leopard at one point, I believe, and I'm sure if that leopard would know how many impalas I got in this particular herd, it would be very happy. We are looking of like, could be about 50, 60 impalas there. Lots of them. All right, let me see what other luck I have ahead of me. And the thing is, keep switching my light left to right, hopefully to spot something. It's pretty special how we use the infrared. And way back when I had about infrared for the first time, I used to think infrared cameras will only shine a red light to the animals because animals do not see a red color. And having said that, maybe I'm going to ask James why they call the cameras or why they use infrared and not infra blue. James, I would be happy if you give me an answer, or infra yellow. I'm just thinking of it now. Why did they choose red? I mean, when I look at his camera on either side of the lens, there's some like red lights that come out. Maybe that could be the reason, and if that's the case, then that would make sense. But would wonder why did anybody choose red and not blue, and what would blue do in those small little buttons just on James's camera? What would happen if they would be blue? Very, very good. Or hopefully I'll be able to see a hippo on the way. But as I try to do that, we'll take you back to James Henry.
Righty, we've come all the way around and we're now hoping that they're going to be walking up the road towards us. As yet, there is no luck. But I do see a car coming up this way, so I suspect they're not far off. In which case, we'll probably just reverse a bit. And you can watch them while I try not to bash into something. We should hit the leader soon, I hope. I believe that Catherine is trying to get hold of me. Who? Taxon. Oh, there's the lion. I'm just going to kill the lights. I don't know where the switches are. Yes, I've got it. Thank you, Kirsten. Jeepers, she's not exactly easy today. No, Taxon's on the radio. Okay, sorry, my dear. Let me just move back a bit. Sorry. Get out of their way. Just pull off to the side here, and then they can walk past us. Don't be scared, David. There we are. Taxon, do you copy? There we go. Copy that. I've got the front ones here. Thanks. There we are. Now, it was that one at the front that I thought was lactating when I saw her in the light. That one I don't think is. There the rest come. I think it's worth just sitting here and enjoying the sight of the Nkuhuma Pride in all its glory coming wandering past, possibly going to greet some new little cubs. Hi, guys. So that's 4 in total. And 5. Dara, I hope they form a coalition, because it's very important that a male does have a coalition partner, because if he doesn't, it does mean that life's going to be very difficult. It's tough for a single male lion to take a pride and take a territory. And of course, the Mangan male is obviously made of very stern stuff. He's got through some tremendous upheaval, and so the Nkuhuma male could do worse than use him as a coalition partner. There they go. There he is. Both the males walking together now. That's quite nice to see. And then the oldest female, quite interestingly, look at that. She's normally the one you'd expect to see up front, and she isn't at the moment. Ha! I've not seen that, and here comes the lazy, limpy one. No, that's right behind. That's the purple-eyed lioness, I think. You can see that one eye doesn't reflect light anymore. Quite possibly blind. And here comes the limpy one. Goodbye, my dear. A wonderful evening. Apparently you could hear them walking in the sand. I'm sorry, I probably spoke over that. I do apologise for that. We're going to leave them now. Taxon's going to go past because they are going to head on to Buffelshoek, and I'm afraid we cannot go there. Good evening. So that was a wonderful lion sighting. Yes. David, why are you laughing?
Oh, something's funny for me.
Something's funny to you, is it? Okay. On we go. That was great. Really nice to see them again, and I hope they do another about turn and come back this way. Oh, maybe we'll get a last-minute leopard to end off our show. How much time have we got? Not very long, about 5 minutes. Oh. Kirsten McLennan-Smith, who definitely needs to go home and drink some happy juice, has said, speaking of last-minute leopards, we can link to Trishala, who doesn't have one.
I am your last-minute leopard. No, how could I say that when I don't even have my leopard print tights on? No, unfortunately, Tandy, I didn't even get a glimpse of her. Haven't seen a glimpse of her whatsoever. But Craig seems to think that his chameleon game is on a point today or tonight in the few minutes that we have to look in the bushes for chameleons. So I said, why not? He said it's always on point. But I'd be lying if it weren't because of Craig that now I can see the comedians. So we're going to look around, see if we can find one before end of drive. Sometimes I feel I shouldn't give myself these challenges since I'm so poor at them. Last time Tristan won. No, but one day. Kirsten says, am I going to pretend I found one? I did find one that one drive, Kirst. Goodness. I was hoping that Tandy would sort of come out. Linda, you'd like me to find you a bush baby. And now Kirst's going to be like, oh, you're lying. But literally about 2 minutes ago, we looked into a tree and we saw a bush, well, what looked like bush baby's eyes, but not much else. And then it was gone. So Linda, I will look hard and long for the next 5 minutes just for you, Linda. If I find one, I will shout so loudly, FC will hear in Joburg. Linda, I found you a bush baby. Does nobody want a chameleon? I so desperately want a chameleon. I find them so fascinating. Are you giving suggestions here, Craig? Oh, excuse me. We've got to wait for Tristan to be on drive to find chameleons. Just you wait. My eyes are just warming up. You know, it takes... You need to get accustomed to seeing these things. And once you do, it's like magic. So I will find one. What I don't want is to be on drive tomorrow morning and tell you guys, oh, I found a chameleon on my way back to camp. No, then it doesn't count. Nadi. Well, it seems like somebody else is also losing tonight when it comes to chameleons and bush babies. It's not just me. So let's go over to James with those wonderful lions.
Now, we're just a big game car here. We've got ourselves a hyena. Quite possibly the same one we had a little earlier. I'm not sure. It is the, not to put too fine a point on it, arse end of a hyena, but it is a hyena nevertheless. It's now doing its evening exercises, I see. Let me go a little bit faster. Now, this is the kind of drive that the cam-ops really enjoy because we're going to finish basically at the entrance to camp. There's the hyena going to scrounge about, possibly our camp. Sorry, I have to keep going, which makes the picture jerky, but if I stop, it's going to disappear from view. And if I get any closer, it'll run. Oh, there we are. It's found itself the smell of lion. Hopefully not eating lion dung, of course. Like a hooded vulture. How disgusting. Now I must smile at you for the last time. Now David will go off me and the credits will roll. Not so, David. There we are. Alright everyone, that's going to be it for this evening's safari. We are going to go home and have some genuine apple juice now, because it is of course Saturday and one should always have apple juice on Saturdays. So until tomorrow at 05:30, thank you very much for your questions and your comments and for your kind welcomes back. I'll see you tomorrow in one way or another. Bye-bye.